Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshta Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamshta Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So yesterday we had started to discuss Dhruva Maharaj's pastime. So we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, which is entitled Dhruva Maharaj Leaves Home. So just to recap what we have been discussing till now. So this chapter begins with Maitreya Rishi first explaining the family of Adharma, and then he starts to explain the pious family. Just to contrast, he explains the family of Adharma, the impious family, and then he explains the pious family of Swayambhu Manu. So he explained that Swayambhu Manu had two sons, Uttanapad and Priyavrat. So even though Priyavrat is the elder son and Uttanapad is the younger one, Maitreya Rishi is so excited to speak the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, he goes straight to the family of Uttanapad. And he explains that how Uttanapad had two wives, Suniti and Suruchi. But Uttanapad was more attached to Suruchi. So Suruchi represents the beauty and pleasures of this world, and Suniti represents morality and values and principles. So Uttanapad's problem was he was more attached to the pleasures of this world than values and principles. So it so happened that the son of Suniti happened to be Dhruva. So one time, as any story begins with, Maitreya Rishi explains, once upon a time, uh, Dhruva, a young 5-year-old child, comes to sit on the lap of his father Uttanapad. But Uttanapad, even though he wants to welcome Dhruva, but he sees that his wife Suruchi is there. And Uttanapad is so attached to Suruchi, he feels that if I welcome Dhruva, Suruchi will get angry. Therefore, he doesn't even welcome him. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that how if a woman comes to know that a man is, uh, you know, completely under my control, she sometimes takes undue advantage. And we find in the Ramayana, Kaikai took undue advantage of Dasharath because Dasharath's weak point was his extra affection and favoritism of Kaikai over his other wives. So this is the feminine nature, and Prabhupada explains that this feminine nature is there even in the exalted family of Swayambhu Manu. So Suruchi, right in front of Uttanapad, she starts to speak very harsh words to Dhruva. She tells Dhruva Maharaj, "You're not fit to sit on the throne. You're not fit to sit on the lap of your king, because even though you are the son of a king, you have not taken birth from my womb. You are born from another woman." So child Dhruva was so small. He really didn't understand the difference between his two mothers. But Suruchi is making a point to explain this to Dhruva. And she tells Dhruva, no, you can't sit. All your endeavors will be a failure until you worship Krishna, go to the forest, worship Krishna, and then when you take birth again, That means she's indirectly telling Dhruva, you have to die, be born again from my womb, only then you can sit. So this is how cruel Suruchi was. Even though Suruchi was very beautiful, but still she was cruel. We find in the Ramayana also, among the three wives of Dasharath, Kaikai was the most beautiful. But she, even though she was the most beautiful, her words were so cruel. She literally killed uh, Dasharath Maharaj and she banished Lord Ram. Similarly, here, Suruchi, she's speaking such cruel words to Dhruva. And Dhruva, he's just a 5-year-old child. He's not even started to see the world. And he's suddenly shaken apart by the reality of this world. He begins to understand how people are so envious and how people see duality, right? So the problem with Suruchi was she was considering the difference between my son and the son of Sunati. Just like the Mahabharat, Bhagavad Gita starts with Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, my sons and the sons of Pandu. So this is where Kali uh, or quarrel actually enters. So when Dhruva hears this, Maitreya Rishi explains, Dhruva is so pained. He has so much anger, so much frustration, so much sadness. He's so pained by the words of his stepmother. And all the more he is pained because his father, seeing all this, his father is just quiet. This pains him all the more. Uttanapad, even though he knew it was wrong, but he couldn't do anything. He was completely controlled by Suruchi. So this pains Dhruva so much. He's overcome by all these emotions. He's not able to digest all these emotions. How can a small child digest all this? He goes running, breathing very heavily, like a snake which is being stamped upon, trampled upon, starts to breathe very heavily. So Dhruva, breathing very heavily, runs to his mother in anger. And by this time, the news has already reached Suniti what has happened to Dhruva. And Suniti, even though she was very patient, she tolerated all the abuse and all the negligence and all the neglect of Uttanapad, but this was beyond her. She was thinking, okay, I can tolerate. Why did they have to involve my little child? So Suruchi was so envious. She didn't even spare Dhruva. She could have vented her envy and anger on Suniti, but she vented on Dhruva Maharaj. And Suniti, when she hears this, she is so overcome by grief. Her beautiful lotus face starts to shrivel up. And she herself didn't know what is the solution to it because uh, her this was a fact that her husband had completely neglected her. So then she starts to speak to Dhruva Maharaj. And we saw how the speech of Suniti reflects the wisdom and realization that she had. So we were discussing this yesterday that greatness of a man or a woman is estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. So Suniti, in this situation, she tells Dhruva, my dear Dhruva, whatever is spoken by your stepmother is actually a fact because your father, what to speak of considering me to be his wife, he doesn't even treat me like his maid servant. He's ashamed to accept me. Therefore, this is a fact, even though it's a harsh fact, this is a fact that you're unfortunate that you have taken birth from my womb. Right? And she tells Dhruva, give up this envious attitude towards your stepbrother Uttama and towards your stepmother. And without delay, follow the instructions of your stepmother. So, what did Suruchi tell Dhruva? She told Dhruva, worship Krishna, and then in the next life, you take birth from my womb. So, Suruchi tells Dhruva, whatever she has said, it's actually a truth. Your father neglects me. And if you want to achieve any success, if you want to achieve a kingdom greater than your father, greater than your grandfather, the only way is to worship Krishna. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, in order to achieve success, one needs the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here, the words of Suruchi, even though very painful, very piercing to Dhruva, was actually a benediction. Because these words became the inspiration and the impetus for Dhruva to become a great devotee. So in all our lives, there may be a lot of tribulations that come, lot of difficulties that come. But through this pastime, through the wisdom of Suniti, we can understand how to see even difficulties as opportunities to take shelter of Krishna. So Suniti advised Dhruva that please go and take shelter of Krishna. And she gives two examples. She says that your great grandfather, Brahmaji, he became so successful as a secondary creator and he created everything, all the planets and all the species. But he got all this success and the ability to create because he worshipped Krishna, because he took shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Yasyangri Padmam Paricharya Vishwa. Because he took shelter of Krishna, the lotus feet of Krishna, he got success. Similarly, your grandfather, Swayambhu Manu, who's the most successful human being, who did great charity, who became greatly successful in this world, achieved great happiness, and in the next life he got liberation. Even Swayambhu Manu worshipped Krishna. So therefore, my suggestion to you, my dear child, is worship Krishna with one pointed focus. Yam ekamatya, with one pointed focus. Ananya bhak, without taking shelter of anyone else. So she says, Anyato, no need to take shelter of any other demigods. Because what you are aspiring for, none of the demigods can give. So Suniti's advice is very perfect. She tells Dhruva, you want affection, you want love, you want a kingdom greater than your father. Everything is possible only by worshipping Krishna. And then the next verse, it's a very beautiful verse. She says, Tam eva vatsashreya bhritya vatsalam mumukshubir margya padamja paddatim ananya bhave nija dharma bhavite manasya avastapya bhajasva purusham. He says, my dear boy, take shelter of Krishna. And who is Krishna? Krishna is Bhritya Vatsalam, Vatsashraya Bhritya Vatsalam. So Krishna is very affectionate to the devotees. So if you take shelter of Krishna, definitely he'll give you affection. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, Suniti is indirectly telling Dhruva, you came crying to me, hoping that I will give you love and affection. I can definitely give you, but please understand that my love and affection is very limited. If you go to Krishna and surrender unto him, Krishna's kindness is the combined kindness of millions of mothers put together. So this is what you will experience. So when everyone else fails to mitigate one's miseries, Krishna will be able to help his devotees. So this is intelligence. Sa guru, sa pita chapi, sa mata bandavopi sa, shikshaye che sada smartum, harer namaiva kevalam. So this is a proper mother, a perfect mother, Suniti. She's advising Dhruva, take shelter of Krishna. So this verse in the Kevalashtakam, it explains who is an ideal mother, father, guru, one who inspires their dependent to take shelter of Krishna. So Suniti is not giving empty promises to Dhruva. She's just not pacifying Dhruva and just not pacifying the emotional hurt of Dhruva. Everything will be okay. She's actually telling Dhruva, use this opportunity. You are in misery, take shelter of Krishna. This is the only way. And she says that this process is actually not easy to achieve Krishna. But one who takes shelter of Krishna through the process of Bhakti Yoga, he can achieve. So Suniti is not advising Dhruva to take shelter of Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Ashtang Yoga. She's telling Dhruva, take to the process of Bhakti Yoga. So Prabhupada says, by the process of Bhakti Yoga, even a child less than 5 years or anyone of any age can be purified. This is the special significance of Bhakti Yoga. A 5-year-old child, Dhruva, practices Bhakti Yoga, achieves Krishna. Prahlad, in the womb of his mother, he experiences Krishna, hears about Krishna. Parikshit, in the womb of his mother, he has darshan of Krishna. Parikshit, at the fag end of his life, in 7 days, he perfects. So Bhakti Yoga is a process which everyone can take shelter of. And if we place Krishna in our heart, everything becomes easy and successful. Devi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ya prapadyante maya metam tarantite. If we take shelter of Krishna, that which is very difficult to overcome. Dhruva wanted a planet greater than Lord Brahma, which is impossible. But by the mercy of Krishna, it could be possible. And then she says that this Krishna Lakshmi Devi with lotus flower in her hand worships Krishna. So Dhruva wanted, uh, he was not exactly a pure devotee at this point. He was going to Krishna to achieve something material, right? He wanted the throne of his father. He wanted something very great. So Suniti tells Dhruva, don't waste time worshipping other demigods. Better worship Krishna because you want the favor of Lakshmi. But please understand that Lakshmi is eternally serving the lotus feet of Krishna. That Lakshmi, even Brahmaji, to get his opulence, worships Krishna. So you just worship Krishna. And here in this verse, in text 23, she says, Nanyam tata padma palasha lochanad dukkha chidam te mragayani kanchana. So Krishna's lotus face and is like a lotus flower, and his eyes are like the lotus petals. So someone who is traveling in this material world, who is on this yatra of this material world, experiences misery because the nature of this world is padam padam yad vipadam na tesham samsara dava. Everyone experiences misery in this world, and um, any traveler who is traveling in the summer heat, when he comes across a beautiful lake filled with lotus flowers, all his misery goes away, all his fatigue goes away. So she's telling Dhruva, now you have been, you have come in front of this scorching heat of misery. So the only solace for you is the lotus face of Krishna. And Prabhupada explains here, if someone regularly goes and sees the lotus face of Krishna, the form of Krishna, immediately all his grief will go away. So in this way, Suniti is inspiring Dhruva, please go and take shelter of Krishna. So this is where we stopped yesterday. So we will continue from this point today. Text 24. Maitreya uvacha evam sanjalpitam matur akarnyartha vachah sainyam yatmanatmanam nishchar krama pitopurat. Maitreya Rishi continued, Dhruva Maharaj, after he received these instructions, immediately went to fulfill his desired objective. He fixed his intelligence. He first considered the advice given by Suniti. He accepted the advice. He became fixed in his determination and he left his father's house. So this is how we should be able to follow instructions. So just like Dhruva got instructions from Suniti, we also get regular instructions from all great souls, the wise and intelligent people. But the difference is if we can actually follow those instructions. So instructions are useful as long as we follow it. So following it is very important. If you get instructions, just like the same instructions that Krishna gave to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna's father Vasudev gave the same instructions to Kansa. The same knowledge of the body, spirit, soul, the same knowledge was given, but Kansa couldn't act on it. So Dhruva, as soon as he got these instructions, he considered, after deliberate consideration with intelligence. So in the Bhagavad Gita also, Arjuna is asking questions again and again to Krishna as long as he is convinced of, till the point that he is convinced of that instruction. So Dhruva Maharaj also just doesn't follow blindly. He considers those instructions with his intelligence, and then when he is convinced, he becomes determined and he leaves home. The comfortable palace. I mean, this was just one small insult. Dhruva Maharaj could have said, let me just continue here. What is the problem? Just like Dhritarashtra, when after the war of Kurukshetra, he still continued to live in that palace. Vidura comes and tells him, my dear Dhritarashtra, my dear elder brother, what are you doing? That Bhima, he killed all your 100 sons and you're eating food given by Bhima. Have you become shameless? So Dhruva, he could have continued life. He could have just said, it's okay, it's part of life. Let me not give up the comforts of home. But Dhruva was ready to give up the comforts of his house, the comforts of his palace, and go to the forest. So Prabhupada writes a very brilliant purport. So Prabhupada writes here, both the mother, Suniti, and Dhruva, the son, both were insulted by the stepmother and father. Both of them were in bad shape. Both of them were emotionally hurt. And both of them were lamenting and crying. But Prabhupada mentions here, mere lamentation is useless. If you just keep crying, what is the point? You have to do something about it. When you come across problems, difficulties, just crying about it is not, there's no point. You have to take some action. And what was the action Suniti and Dhruva decided to do? They decided to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And Prabhupada explains here, because that is the only solution to all material problems. So this line is very important. Only by taking shelter of Krishna, we can achieve solution. There is no other way. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gataranyata. There is no other second option. The only option, the only solution for all our problems is to take shelter of Krishna. Yasyam vai shrunumanayam Krishne paramapurushe bhakti utpadyate pumsa shoka moha bhayapaha. The Bhagavatam explains, if you regularly hear about Krishna and take shelter of Krishna, all the lamentation, all our anxiety, fear, everything will go away. So, in this connection, Prabhupada explains, after hearing the instructions of Suniti and after deliberately considering it, Dhruva Maharaj left his house, left his capital, left his family to go in seclusion to search out for the Lord. And Prabhupada quotes Prahlad Maharaj, another great Acharya. So Prahlad says in his teachings, if one wants peace of mind, all of us want peace of mind, right? Here Dhruva and Suniti, their peace of mind is completely shattered because of the words of Suruchi. So if someone wants peace of mind, what is the way? One should free himself from the contamination of family life and take shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead by going to the forest. So if one wants peace of mind, what one should do? One should give up family connection and go to the forest. So someone may say, is it practical? How do we do it? So Prabhupada explains, for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, this forest means Vrindavan. So for all of us, if we want peace of mind, what we have to do? We have to take shelter of Vrindavan. And Prabhupada writes a very beautiful line. We can meditate on this line. If one takes shelter of Vrindavan, under Vrindavaneshwari, Srimati Radharani, certainly all the problems of his life are solved very easily. So this is a very beautiful sentence. I'll just repeat it. So Prabhupada says, if one takes shelter of Vrindavan, under Vrindavaneshwari, Srimati Radharani, certainly all the problems of life are solved very easily. So the instruction for all of us is that we have to take shelter of Vrindavan. We have to take shelter of Srimati Radharani. If we do this, all problems will become easily solved. Text 25. Naradastad upakarnya gyatva tasya chikirshitam svishtva murdani agena panina praha vismita. The great sage Narada overheard this news, and understanding the activities of Dhruva, he was struck with wonder. He approached Dhruva, touching the boy's head with his virtuous hand, and spoke as follows. So Dhruva left home, went to the forest to search for God. That time, the news reached Narad Muni, and Narad Muni was struck with wonder. Gyatva tasya chikirshitam. How can a 5-year-old boy go to the forest? We hear elderly people going to the forest, taking to sannyas. A 5-year-old boy going to the forest. Narad Muni was struck with wonder, by hearing the activities of Dhruva, by seeing the determination of Dhruva. And Narad Muni comes there, places his virtuous hand on the head of Dhruva and speaks as follows. So Prabhupada again writes a very beautiful purport. So Prabhupada says here, when Dhruva was talking with his mother Suniti, Narada was not present. So the question is, how did Narad come to know about these topics? I mean, this is like a family talk going on between a mother and son. How did Narada hear all this? Two answers. One is, Narada is Trikalagya. He understands past, present and future. Just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he understands everything. So in the first canto of Bhagavatam, when Vyasdev is dejected and despondent, that he's written all the Vedas, still not satisfied. And he's thinking, what is the cause of my dissatisfaction? Right at that point, Narad Muni comes there. And Vyasdev glorifies Narad Muni. He says, just like the wind can enter into any part of the universe, similarly, because you are representative of God, because you are representative of Supreme Person of Godhead, you can understand what is there in my heart. So Narada is called Trikalagya because he can understand past, present, and future. Right? And Prabhupada writes here the second point. How did Narad Muni come here? Because Dhruva Maharaj was very determined. Krishna arranged Narada to come here. So the Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart. Right? He is situated as Paramatma in the heart of Dhruva Maharaj, and he is situated as Paramatma in the heart of Narad Muni. So as soon as Dhruva was eager and serious about devotional service, he wanted to achieve God. The Paramatma, Chaitya Guru in the heart of Dhruva, told Narada, please go and help Dhruva Maharaj. And Prabhupada writes from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. So by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, one gets the seed of devotional service. So how does one get Guru? So Dhruva wanted to achieve God. He didn't know who his Guru was. But Guru came to him. Why? Because he was sincere in his desire. So when someone is sincere to achieve Krishna, Krishna arranges Guru in a devotee's life. Because Dhruva Maharaj's determination, Krishna, the super soul, immediately sent his representative Narada to initiate him. So when we are very sincere, when we are sincerely practicing bhakti, when we want to sincerely advance, others may know, they may not know, but Krishna knows. And when Krishna knows, Krishna will arrange the right devotees for all of us to actually help us and initiate us in this process. So Narad Muni comes on the path of Dhruva. Text 26. Aho teja kshatriyanam mana bhangam amachsyatam balopi ayam hrida datte yatsmatur asadvachah. So Maitreya Rishi says, just see how wonderful the Shatriyas are. So the Shatriyas, Dhruva was a 5-year-old boy, but still he had the Kshatriya blood in him. Just see how powerful they are. They cannot tolerate even a slight insult on their prestige. Just imagine Dhruva, a 5-year-old boy, he couldn't tolerate this insult on his prestige. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada quotes that Krishna explains different qualities of a Kshatriya. So, two important qualities of a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya cannot tolerate insult on his prestige. If his man, if he's insulted, he cannot tolerate. A Kshatriya can tolerate physical hurt. If someone hurts him with arrows or weapons, a Kshatriya can tolerate that. A Brahmana cannot tolerate that. A Brahmana can tolerate insult, but a Kshatriya cannot tolerate insult. And the second thing is, a Kshatriya will never run away from battle. So Prabhupada writes here, because Dhruva Maharaj was a Kshatriya. So in a family where the sanskars go on properly, all the family sanskars are maintained, naturally, even a progeny, even a small child develops the mood of the particular family. So therefore, in our Vedic system, generally it would happen that if someone is born in a Brahmin family and all the sanskars have been done, that child will naturally have Brahminical inclination. So this is how education was. Right? Naturally, he would have that inclination. Right? So this is Vedic system if one follows the reformatory process properly. So because Dhruva, his sanskars were done properly, even as a 5-year-old boy, he had the qualities of a Kshatriya. So what does Narada tell him? So these instructions of Narada are very important. Narada is actually testing Dhruva. He is testing the determination of Dhruva Maharaj. Narada vacha nadun napi avamanam te samanam vapi putraka lakshyamana kumarasya saktasya kridanishu. Narada told Dhruva, my dear boy, you are a little boy whose attachment is to sports and other things. Why are you so affected by the words of insult? So Narada in the beginning tells Dhruva, you're a small child. So what does a child do? Child only plays. You have seen small children. Sometimes you scold small children. They feel bad, but after some time they forget it. So the beauty of small children is they don't take anything seriously. You insult them, they will forget it. Their minds are not very complex. They don't hold on to it for a long time. And similarly, if you praise them, they will be happy and they will forget it. Right? You have seen small children, na? When they are with friends, they play together, they fight, and they'll say, I will not talk to you only. And after 1 hour, they will start talking again. They will completely forget. But as adults, what we do, if you have a fight and we say, I will not talk to you, for years together, we will not talk. The children are generally very simple. So Narada tells them, Dhruva, you're a small child. Why are you taking this thing seriously? Just forget and go back and play. Text 28. Vikalpe vidyamane pi nahi asantosha hetava pumso mohamrite binna yalloke nija karma bhi. And he tells Dhruva, even if you feel that your sense of honor has been insulted, you still have no cause for dissatisfaction. So Narada is telling Dhruva, see, either you're a small child. If you're a small child, you should not be bothered about all this. Just go back home and play. But if you feel you are grown up and you understand this honor or dishonor, still there is no cause for dissatisfaction. Why? Because this kind of dissatisfaction is the nature of illusory energy. Because of a previous karma, we sometimes enjoy, we sometimes suffer. Right? So Prabhupada explains in the purport, this is material world. Sometimes happiness, sometimes misery. Right? So a living entity should not be affected by both, because a living entity is actually in the transcendental position. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. So a person who's there on the platform of transcendental platform, he is not affected by either of these things. So Narada tells Dhruva, either you're a child. If you're a child, you should not be, you should not bothered about insult and honor. And if you think that you are developed, still you should not be bothered about insult or honor, because these things come because of a previous karma. One should not be bothered. One should be on the transcendental platform. Paritushte tatastat tavan matrena purusha daivopasaditam yavad viksheshwara gatin buddha. So Narada tells, the process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is wonderful. One who is intelligent should accept the process and be satisfied with whatever comes, favorable or unfavorable by his will. So he tells Dhruva, my dear Dhruva, how the plans of the Lord work, none of us can understand. So what one should do, if you are intelligent, one should accept the plan. Don't challenge what comes, just accept. Whatever comes, accept it as a gift of God. Satyanukampa sumikshamano bunjane evatma kritam vipakam ridva vapubir vidadan namaste jiveta yo mukti sadai bhak. So this is Brahmaji's prayer in the Bhagavatam. He says that a devotee, whatever comes, whether it is happiness or distress, he accepts it as the anukampa of Krishna, the mercy of Krishna, and is satisfied, and with his body, mind and words, he is thanking Krishna. So Narada tells Dhruva, this is the mood. If you think you are very grown up and you are very mature, then please understand that whatever comes is the mercy of God. Even this insult is the mercy of God. So don't take it seriously. Ata matropadiштena yogena varutasasi yat prasadam savai pumsam duradyo mato mama. So he tells Dhruva, now you have decided to follow the instructions of your mother and achieve the mercy of God and perform austerities. But please understand that this is not easy. Duradayo mato mama. In my opinion, it is very difficult to achieve Krishna. To achieve the mercy of Krishna is very difficult. So Prabhupada again writes a very beautiful purport. He says the process of bhakti is simultaneously very difficult and very easy to perform. So is bhakti easy or difficult? So Prabhupada says it is easy also, it is difficult also. So Narad Muni here is actually testing Dhruva. He's telling Dhruva, Bhakti is very difficult to perform. Achieving God is not easy. Just go back home. So he's testing the determination of Dhruva. And Prabhupada writes here, for a person who is sincere, devotional service is easy. But one who is not determined and sincere, the process is difficult. So is bhakti easy or difficult? If we are sincere, it is easy. If we are not sincere and determined, it is difficult. Munaya padavim yasya nisange nur janmabi na vidur mragayantopi tivra yoga samadhina. He says there are many yogis who performed great austerities, but they couldn't realize God. And you are a small child, 5 years old. What is the possibility for you? So just go back home. Ato nivartatam yesha nirbandhastava nishvala yatishyati bhavam kale shreyasam samupastite. My suggestion is don't endeavor. Don't even waste time in the forest. Better go home, enjoy your life, and when you're grown up, you will get a chance to perform bhakti. Don't worry. So if we get these instructions, we'll be very happy. If someone tells us, just enjoy your life and then you practice bhakti, we'll be very happy. So generally, people have this understanding that one should take to spiritual life later. First few years, perform brahmacharya, then get married, grahastha, then vanaprastha, then sannyas, and then you take up. So people think childhood is for enjoyment, and when you get old, you can practice bhakti. So Narad Muni is speaking this, but Narad Muni is speaking this only to test Dhruva. Otherwise, the instructions of the scriptures is start bhakti as soon as you understand the urgency of it. Kaumare achare pragyo. One should start bhakti when one is a small child. Nishwase nahi vishwasa kadarudo bhavishyati kirtaniya mato bahalyat harer nameva kevalam. So the Kevalashtakam says, because we don't know when our final moment is going to be. Is it written that only old people die? Young people also die, children also can die. So we don't know when the last moment is going to be. Therefore, one should start chanting the holy names as early as possible. Kirtaniya mato bahalyad. One should start chanting when one is a small child. So Narad Muni is telling Dhruva, just externally to test Dhruva, go back home, enjoy life. When you're old, you come back. But this is just to test. But actually the instructions of the scriptures is one should begin bhakti from any point of life as soon as one understands the urgency of it. Text 33. Yasyata daivam vihitam satena sukha dukkayo atmanam toshayam dehi tamasa paramrichati. One should try to keep himself satisfied in any condition of life, whether distress or happiness, which is offered by the Supreme Will. And in this way, one will be able to cross over the ocean of nations. So Prabhupada writes here, this is like the summary instructions of Narada. Just be satisfied. This insult has come, it's okay, it will pass away. Matra sparshastu gaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama paino anityas tam titikshasa bharata. Just like Krishna says, tolerate ups and downs of life, honor, dishonor, happiness, distress, all this will come. Just tolerate and carry on your duty. If you just do this, we will achieve liberation. So in the same mood, Narada is telling Dhruva, now distress has come, don't worry, after some time happiness will come. Just go back in life, go back to your palace and continue your life. The next verse is very, very beautiful and a very important verse. Gunadikan mudam lipshed akrosham gunadamat maitrim samanat anvinchen na taped abhibhuyate. So Narada, through Dhruva, is instructing all of us how every man should act. So he says every man should act like this. So this is the way we should deal with others and live life. How we should do? When we meet a person more qualified than us, we should be very happy. We should be very pleased. When we meet someone less qualified than us, we should be compassionate. And when we meet someone equal to us, we should make friendship with that person. So in this way, one will never be affected by the threefold miseries of life. So this is Narad Muni's formula, how one can be freed from misery. No taper abhibhuyate. So we all experience misery in this world. And misery is because of these three things. So Prabhupada writes here, these are the causes of material tribulation. So generally, when we meet someone who's more qualified than us, gunadikan mudam lipshet. So generally, when we meet someone more qualified than us, we become envious. But rather, what we should do, when we meet someone more qualified, we should become jolly, we should become happy, we should start appreciating that person, we should start glorifying that person. When we meet someone less qualified than us, generally we start exploiting them, we start abusing them. But here Narad says, when we meet someone less qualified than us, we should be compassionate to them. And when we meet someone equal to us, generally we become very proud, we want to show off. But what we should do is, when we meet someone equal to us, we should treat them as a friend. So if we do this, one can remain happy in this world. These important functions will make one happy within this material world. So how one can remain peaceful? Because one of the major reason of miseries is these three things. When we are envious towards those who are better than us, our peace goes away. When we meet someone who is less qualified than us, we start abusing, exploiting, we start offending, our peace goes away. And when we meet friends, right, what we start to do, we start to become proud. Just like today is International Friendship Day, right? So we find in the Leela of Krishna and Sudama, Krishna is friends with Sudama. Krishna is not showing off in front of Sudama. Even though he's Dwarkadish, he doesn't have the show off mentality. He's not showing, "Arey, you are only in this level, I've reached this level." No, he's a very good friend to him, right? He's showing friendship. So if we do these three aspects, we can be happy and satisfied. So in this way, Narada instructs Dhruva. So now, after hearing these instructions, what does Dhruva say? Text 35. Dhruva uvacha soyam shamo bhagavata sukha dukha hatatmanam darshita kripaya pumsam durashosmad vidastuya. Dhruva Maharaj said, "My dear Naradji, for persons who is disturbed by material condition of happiness and distress, what you have explained is very good. But as far as I am concerned, my heart is in the mode of ignorance, and your philosophy doesn't touch my heart." So Dhruva says, very good instructions, Narada, but please forgive me, I can't follow it. Right? So Prabhupada writes on the purport here, right? So there are people who are free from material desires or want to become free from material desires. For them, these instructions of Narada are very good, right? Just tolerate happiness, distress, just tolerate and continue on your devotion service. But Dhruva says, but I am a Kshatriya. Your instructions are good for a Brahmana, but I am a Kshatriya. These instructions don't suit me, right? Because my heart is filled with ignorance and passion. So Dhruva, very frankly tells Narad Muni that I am sorry, I want to follow your instructions, but my condition is I am not able to follow. Because your instructions are good for one who doesn't have material desires, but I have material desires. So Dhruva Maharaj is very honest in telling Narada that I have material desires and I want to fulfill the material desires. I want a kingdom greater than my grandfather. If you can help me, please help me. Otherwise, I'm going my way. So this is how Dhruva is very honest. Text 36. Atapi me vinitasya shatram goram upeyusha suruchya durvajobaner na binne shrayate hradi. My dear Dhruva, my dear Lord, I am very impudent for not accepting your instructions, but this is not my fault. It is due to my having been born in a Kshatriya family. So he says, it's not my fault. I'm born in the family of a Kshatriya. That's why I'm not able to follow. The harsh words of my stepmother have actually pierced my heart. I'm not able to follow your instruction. And Prabhupada explains in the purport, just like a mind is like an earthen pot. Once it's broken, it can't be repaired. So Dhruva tells Narada, I can't follow this. I want to take revenge. I want to counteract that insult. You're telling me just forgive. I'm not able to do it. I just can't do it. And Dhruva was so determined. I want to prove who I am. I want a kingdom greater than, what to speak of my father, greater than that of Brahmaji. So Dhruva Maharaj here is very determined and he's very honest, bluntly honest. So he tells, it's not practical for me to accept your philosophy. Your philosophy is suitable for Brahmanas. Right. Text 37. Padam tribunat krostam jigisho sadhu vartamay me bruhi asmat pitrabhi brahman anyer api anadishtitam. O learned Brahmana, I want to occupy a position exalted than anyone achieved in the three worlds, even my father or grandfather. If you will oblige, kindly advise me an honest path so that I can achieve my desired goal. So Dhruva is very honest. He's telling Narad Muni very straightly, I can't go back home and I can't forget this. I want to do something. And what do I want? I want a place, position. Padam Tribhunat Kroshtam Jigisho Sadhu Vartmame. I want a position greater than even my father, grandfather, even Brahmaji. So you are a great soul. Please tell me how I can achieve that. So Narada has come to Dhruva. Dhruva could have asked for pure devotional service. But at this point, he's not able to ask. But he wants to take advantage of the presence of Narada. He tells Narad Muni, please tell me a proper path, a honest path so that I can achieve my goal. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, Dhruva first refused the instruction of Narada. So now the next question is, what does Dhruva want? So before Narada could ask this, Dhruva explained his desire. I want a kingdom better than my father or grandfather. So in one sense, this is impossible. How can one desire a kingdom greater than Brahmaji? Brahmaji's planet is the greatest. But Dhruva had an impossible desire. He wanted to achieve it. And because he got the darshan of Narada, Narada is a great devotee of Krishna, right? So he wanted to take advantage of Narada's position to fulfill his material desire. So he told Narad Muni, you are there. Definitely with your mercy, impossible can become possible, right? And he tells Narad Muni, please tell me a proper path. So Prabhupada also writes here, Dhruva is not telling Narad Muni, hook or crook I want to achieve. No, he says, I will follow a honest path. I have a material desire, but I don't want to achieve it by the path of adharma. I want to achieve it by Krishna's mercy only. So this is the nature of a devotee. He may have material desires, but he knows that only Krishna can fulfill it. So therefore he tells Narad Muni, you are very merciful. Please be merciful to me and show me a path to fulfill my mind's desire. Text 38. Nunam bhavan bhagavato yo angaja paramestina vidudantan atate vinam hitaya jagato rakavat. He says, my dear Lord, you are the worthy son of Lord Brahma, and you travel all around the universe playing your veena, delivering others, showing compassion and welfare for others. You are like the sun who gives light for every living entity. So Dhruva knew the glory of Narad Muni, even though he couldn't follow Narada's instruction, but he was not offensive. He very honestly told Narad Muni, your instruction is very nice, but I'm not able to follow it. I have this material desire. And I know you are an exalted person. You are like the sun can illuminate everyone. And the sun, and just like the sun, you keep traveling around, showing, throwing light on others, doing welfare activity for others. Please fulfill my desire also. Even though my desire is not spiritual, it is material, please fulfill it. Right? So in this way, uh, Dhruva very honestly tells Narad Muni, please help me. Please fulfill this material desire of mine. Text 39. Maitre Vacha Idi Udaratam Akarnya Bhagavan Naradastada Prita Pratyaya Tadbalam Sadvakyam Anukampyaya. Maitre Rishi continued, the person of Godhead, the supreme person, the great personality Narad Muni, upon hearing the words of Dhruva Maharaj, became very compassionate to him. And in order to show him mercy, gave the following expert advice. So even though Dhruva in one sense rejected the advice of Narada, but Narada was very happy. Happy because Dhruva is very honest. He's very honest. He wants to do bhakti. He wants to take shelter of Krishna. But at this point, he's not ready for Shuddha Bhakti. He's saying, I want to do bhakti, but I have material desire also. So because he's very honest, and very innocent, Narad Muni becomes very pleased. And he starts to speak the following words. And what does he speak? There's a lot of instructions, but we will read one more shloka and then we'll stop for today. Text 40. Naradu vaja janaya jananya vihita panta savai nishreyasyate bhagavan vasudevastam bhajatam pravanatmana. The great sage Narada told Dhruva Maharaj, the instruction given by your mother Suniti to follow the path of devotional service to the Supreme Person of Godhead is just suitable for you. You should therefore completely absorb yourselves in devotional service to the Lord. So when Dhruva requested Narada, please help me to fulfill my material desire. So Narada Muni tells Dhruva, okay, I will help you. The advice given by your mother Suniti is a perfect advice. So Narada is supporting the advice given by his mother. Perfect advice. And what was the advice by Suniti? Worship Krishna. Bhagavan Vasudevastam Bhajatam Pravanatmana. With full absorption. Pravanatmana. With full absorption, worship Krishna. So he says this is the best advice. So this is Narad Muni's advice for all of us. If you have any material desire also, akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. Even if you have material desires, the only option for us is to surrender to Krishna fully. Tivrena bhakti yogena. Perform bhakti with great intensity. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, even though Dhruva wanted something material, a position greater than that of Brahma, still he's taking shelter of Narad Muni. And Narad Muni tells him, actually what you are aspiring is very difficult. But it is possible if you actually take shelter of Krishna. So Prabhupada also mentions here that Dhruva wanted something so greater than a position greater than that of Brahma. It was not possible for any demigod to fulfill it. So therefore, Suniti and Narad Muni both advised Dhruva Maharaj, don't worship any demigod. Just surrender to Krishna through the process of pure devotional service. And Prabhupada also mentions another point. Narad Muni is here called Bhagavan. Bhagavan means is as good as the Supreme Person of Godhead. Right? Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastre. The Guru or the representative of God is as good as God. Narad Muni could have actually given what Dhruva wanted. He could have given Dhruva's desire, but he didn't do it. Because the duty of a guru or spiritual master is to engage the disciple in devotional service. So Guru or Krishna, he doesn't make the life of a devotee easy. A devotee has to take personal responsibility and carry out his devotional service. When Krishna was there in the Mahabharat war along with Arjuna, Krishna doesn't tell Arjuna, I will fight for you. Krishna tells Arjuna, you have to fight. I will inspire you to fight. I will show you the path, but you have to walk that path. You have to fight. Similarly, Narad Muni doesn't tell Dhruva, I will give you what you want, even though he could do it. He tells Dhruva, no, you undergo the process. You undergo the austerity. So Suniti gives Dhruva the path, but Dhruva has to follow the path. So similarly, a guru gives the devotee or a disciple the path of devotional service, but it is the responsibility of the devotee and disciple to follow that path. So from text 41, the instructions of Narada continue exactly how he has to follow the path of bhakti, how he has to do devotional service. So Narad Muni tells Dhruva, please go to Vrindavan, the forest called Madhuvan, take bath there 3 times a day in Yamuna river, make a beautiful deity of Krishna, chant the holy names of Krishna, remember the pastimes of Krishna with full absorption. And then Narad Muni goes away. And the chapter goes ahead how Dhruva actually follows the instructions of Narad Muni with great determination. Every month he increases his austerity. The first month he eats once in 3 days. The next month he eats once in 6 days. The third month he eats once in 9 days. In this way, in 6 months, He becomes so absorbed, he stops breathing also. And Krishna actually comes to give darshan to Dhruva because Dhruva had great determination and because he followed the footsteps of and the advice of his mother and Narad Muni. So when, if we get time in future, we will discuss from text 41 onwards. So at this point, I would like to